everyone. Welcome to Adopted Gals Podcast.
My name is HowtoImproveSelf-esteem.
My name is Famata Warfield.
And today we're so excited. We have actually a very fun, light topic we're going to talk about. This is going to be about us after we moved to America, some of the funny experiences that happened. We're going to talk a little bit about our self-esteem, what that looked like when we first moved out here, and how that's evolved over time as we, became adults and grew up and whatnot. But we have some really great funny stories, and of course, we always have some deep topics stories to put into there as well. So I'm gonna let Fatmata start it off.
So it's white boys. We're talking about white boys. So when we came here, like we've said in previous videos, how I moved to a more diverse area versus me where I moved where it was just like all white people.
White
so
people.
Of course all around me was white people.
Yeah.
So of course I was attracted to white boys. I was definitely only attracted to them, and we just have some funny stories that we're gonna talk about. So I'm gonna kick it off. One of the funniest things that happened was I got asked to prom by a white boy, but however, he asked me to prom using a bucket of KFC chicken.
Oh, no, he did not.
Yes, he did. He did.
Why?
He did.
Why?
He did, girl.
Why?
I mean, he did, and I forgot what the sign said.
What?
But it was pretty.
He was trying to be funny, or
No, it wasn't like he wasn't trying to be funny. He was just like, I didn't think he did not mean any harm, and because he was one of my guy friends, he did not mean any harm. And
did you like KFC chicken? Did you like chicken or something?
No, I don't think he really meant any harm by it. But living in that environment, people can definitely be tone deaf. So I think he was definitely tone deaf. He did not mean anything by it. And I'm not gonna say his name. And I hope if you're watching this, I hate you. I still like you. We're pretty cool because you did not mean it. He did not mean it to be like that. But now that I reflect back on it, I'm like, ooh,
it's okay. I got a little bit of secondhand embarrassment for you, but it's all good. I'm sure you learned.
He's learned, but it was very sweet of him. And honestly, being asked to prom was really hard for me because the white boys didn't really like where I lived. The white boys where I lived didn't really like black girls like that. But that was different when I left my environment and I integrated with the real world.
Right.
And I attracted all races of men. But during that time back then, it was hard for me to find a prom date, and my friends were so freaking nice. They were like going to bat for me to make sure somebody asked me to prom.
Aww.
I was definitely a freaking charity case, girl. I was definitely a charity case for prom, trying to find somebody. But my senior year, one of our guy friends just had to ask me, and then he asked me for chicken.
Did you say anything about the chicken, or were you just like, okay?
Back then, here's a young girl coming from Sierra Leone, West Africa, and I didn't know anything about racism and stuff like that. And my parents were gonna teach me the best that they could, versus a black person teaching me on certain things that's a little racist, that's a little weird.
Right.
So I was like, oh my god, that is so clever. Oh my god, thank you for the chicken. Thank you for the chicken. That's so nice of you. So we had fun at prom, and he's a really nice boy. But that's just one of those funny stories that I think about, and I'm like, yeah, it's definitely not the best, but it happened, and it is what it is.
Oh, I have so many stories with me having crushes on white boys. Not as funny as yours, but I do know that when I was in second grade or something, third grade, I don't know, I started having a little. I don't know if it was like crush, maybe it was a little bit of baby crush, but second grade, when I came to America, I ended up being in class. I was in between these two boys. One of them was, I think he was Mexican or something of Hispanic descent. And then the other side of me, it was African-American boy, and they were like best friends. They were best friends. And they were also really, really mean. They were
just mean to everybody?
Me. They were so mean, and they were so mean to me. I just remember like, because they would like make fun of my accent and all this kind of stuff. But then later I found out one of them had a crush on me. I was like way later, little kids.
So when they like somebody, they're mean to them.
They're mean to them. And I just remember I felt some type of way. And like I had my one girlfriend, her name was Charlotte, and she was like, she would always get at them when they would try to be mean to me or bully me, and she'd always yell at them or whatever. So I thought that was really sweet. I'm trying to think of white boys. Not any funny stories, but I definitely like when I first came here, actually, I didn't immediately start crushing on white boys. It took a minute for me to get to that point. Because at first I was like, oh, this is kind of weird. I'd never seen white people before, like so many white people before.
Like that. That was definitely like...
So it was just kind of strange to me. I'm trying to get used to how you guys smell, how you guys look. And I was a little bit scared, not gonna lie. Now I'm not, obviously. But then I did go through a phase shortly after I moved here where I was like really into white boys. I had this one neighbor, he was so cute to me. Oh my god, this boy could do no wrong. His name was Shane. Shane, if you're watching.
Girl,
just kidding.
You say names?
You say names. We're gonna boot that out.
You are so brave.
I don't think he'll even remember me. But anyways, he was like, I think I probably talked to him one time my whole life, but I had the biggest crush on him. He lived near me, and like I was a little bit of a creep. I had a few other experiences, but I'm trying to think of any other white boys that I had. I know you actually ended up dating.
I did. I dated a white boy, and he was also another adoptee.
He was adopted.
But I wouldn't even call it dating. My parents didn't want me to date like that anyways. They didn't really want me to have a boyfriend. In high school, I dated a white boy in high school. It lasted for like a couple of weeks. All we did was like talk on the phone a couple of times. But I did have other crushes, of course. And once again, white boys will only swing. They were into white girls, which is natural. Most races are going to be into the women that look like them. So it was no feelings hurt. So it was definitely. I dated one black boy though. I think it was a total of 5 black kids or 4 black kids in my class.
In your high school?
In my class. Wow. I think probably the whole school. I think 5, the whole school. I'm gonna take that back. 5, the whole school. Girl.
That's nothing.
That's nothing. That's hardly any black people. So it was hard, trying to get a white boy to be attracted to me. And if they did, I had no idea. And it was just very apparent when prom would come around and no one would ask me. Oh my gosh, that shit used to hurt my feelings.
Oh, like, girl, I had the same thing when I was I went to a lot of different boarding schools, and I remember majority of the kids are either white or Asian, and I just remember I wasn't even expecting, or I threw prom out of my head because I was like, I'm not gonna get asked. I already know I'm not gonna get asked. Also, the boarding school, the prom wasn't really prom as you think of it as larger high school. We just went down to the local restaurant or something like that, and it was very, very small. There was a total of 70 kids in the whole boarding school. It was a very, very small school. I just, at that point, my head was shaved, my hair was shaved. I was a little bit tomboyish, and I was like, there's no way any of these boys are gonna ask me. They're all into, half of them I didn't even know if they were straight, first of all. But the other part is just they were into white girls or Asian girls because that's within their culture. So I totally know what you're saying when you kind of like around that time of the year when it's prom, you're nervous.
Oh my gosh, I just remember being so sad. My mom was so sad. I was just talking to my mom, we were both so sad. And shout out to my friends back then who really had my back. They really went to bat for me. No, somebody needs to ask her. We gotta find someone to ask her. But now, like, talking about it, it's so funny thinking back then and just like now, I'm like, I know that I'm beautiful and I'm attractive and all that. And it's like all of that has changed, and I'm like, maybe it was just the white boys that I was around.
I think so because I know in elementary school there was this one white boy who was like, he was actually my really good friend, and I never saw him in that way. It was almost like, to me, I remember there was this boy in the orphanage, his name was TJ. TJ loved me. I don't know what I did.
We'll talk about it later.
But that man loved me, and I don't even know what, I despised him. I was so mean to him. I
teased you so bad.
Everyone used to tease me about how much he loved me. But anyway, so I had this one white friend, and this was middle school. We were close. We weren't super, super, super tight, but we would hang out. We liked being on each other. And I never thought anything of it. People would tell me, oh, we think he likes you, whatever. No, that's my friend. He doesn't like me. But then I found out later, like, he had crushes on me, and I remember he always wanted to hang out with me. And back then I was like I wasn't like rebellious because I was still pretty young, but I remember like taking him to like a movie that was PG-13, and his mom got so mad at me. She was like, my boy has been having nightmares every single night since you took him to the movies. And I'm like, you serious?
So you were a bad influence. Howell was kind of low-key like, she was a bad influence. What's the word I'm looking for? She was a rebel. She was a rebel. For the two of
was a
us,
little
she's
bit.
definitely the rebel.
Yeah, that's
But I
true.
low-key wish that I was also a rebel.
I was a little bit of a rebel, and like she was like the angel,
the goody two-shoe.
the goody two-shoe.
And part of it was because my parents had me under lock and key. So
but the
I
funny
couldn't do...
thing about that is that all my friends' parents loved me. They loved me. They always wanted me to be around. And I don't know what it is, but when I was around parents, my whole person, I would just switch and I would start talking about all these smart topics and for like little kids, and they would just be like, "Oh my God, we love
she's
Howard.
so smart. That's funny. That reminds me of what we were talking about today in the car. And Howard, when she used to come visit me, because she stopped visiting me, one, because I was going through some personal things that we can talk about later. And then two, my mom heard that you were a rebel. She's like, oh, I don't want her visiting Emily because I don't want her to influence Emily. And I'm like, dang, I really wish she really came and influenced me a little bit, because my parents made it seem like I was just a horrible child. And compared to what Howard was doing,
You should have always just brought me up.
Compared to what she was doing, I was an angel.
Oh yeah, oh that's true.
But you learned a lot though from that.
No, I've
you
definitely
learned a lot, and sometimes I wish. I always say that I wish I went through some of that, because I feel like that's helped you. It has helped you to mature and grow in ways that I haven't. So it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. I always talk to her about it, and sometimes I kind of poke fun, but it's all because it's like, well, I like that you went through that, and that's actually a really good thing for you.
Absolutely, and I think for me, adoption is one area where I experience that. I can connect to other people who are also adopted, and I feel like I've had so many different life experiences that it's very easy for me to relate to a lot of different types of people. I went through a lot of shit though to get to this point.
You did. Yeah.
But at the same time, I can sit down with a stranger. More than likely, I can connect with them. I can relate with them in one area of their life or another. And so I think that's a blessing in of itself. And even just like the conversation we're talking about right now, one of the things that me and Fatmata were talking about behind the scenes was how being raised up in a white family, self-esteem, our self-esteem was just very, very low for a very long period of time.
Yes.
And there was just so many different things that we went through, challenges when it comes to our confidence, how we viewed ourselves. I remember, I don't know if you remember this, Hamata, but shortly after we had got adopted and I visited you the first time, and this was the first year when you had that princess tiara.
My 10th birthday.
I remember we were in the bathroom and we were looking in the mirror, and I remember us comparing our skin color. From the camera. That. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, from the camera, I'm sure our viewers would look at us and be like, oh my gosh, they're like just pretty much the same color. Maybe during the summer or winter, our skin colors change a little bit, but we're pretty much the same skin color. But I remember us really in front of the camera, in the mirror, just like up close, comparing our skin out, and we were like, oh no, I'm lighter. You're like, I'm lighter. Oh, no, you're darker. And I'm like, no, you're darker, and vice versa. And I remember your mom, your adopted mom, coming into the bathroom, and she's like, girls, doesn't even matter. You're both beautiful. It doesn't matter your skin color. Do you remember that?
I don't remember comparing. I remember that. Wow. I don't know what's wrong with my memory, because I'm remembering a lot of stuff. Oh, and then when Howard talks about it, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. But yeah, self-esteem, oh my gosh, self-esteem played a huge part in being adopted into a transracial adoption. I definitely compared myself all to the white girls around me. I wanted my hair to be straight. I only wore straight braids, to mimic as close as possible to
straight hair.
The white girls. I never wore my natural hair.
Oh no, girl,
no. And I looked at my nose and I compared my nose, and I just felt like, wow, I felt ugly. I felt ugly. I felt like I just sticking out like a sore thumb all the time and just being seen as different all the time. And I felt like almost like a freaking circus. Everywhere we went, it was just this black girl just sticking out of all of these like people. So it was hard. It was just, my body was different than the white girls. They're more thinner, and I had curves.
Naturally, you have curves.
Yeah, I had curves, and my boobs were coming in, my butt was coming in. Yes. So it was hard, and there was times I just did not love myself at all, and I was just continuously compare, and I did not start to actually love myself until I left the environment that I was in, and I started to look at myself differently. It was tough.
Even for myself, when I was with my family, thank God that we were in a more diverse community. But even then, there were so many moments where I did deal with like some gestures of racism or colorism.
Oh, yes.
And I remember whenever I'd go out with my family in public, because I just did not want to stand out, people would always ask, oh, is that your daughter? That question was always asked. And if you're a viewer listening to this and you see somebody that looks a little different, don't ask it. The relations
don't
of the
stare
family
either.
And don't stare.
Oh
like it's just
gosh,
it doesn't
the staring
help.
just pissed me off, and I'm like,
help.
when are people gonna get used to this? I used to get so mad about it. I used to always talk to my mom. When are people just gonna get used to just seeing us? People will literally walk into a restaurant. People will just sit and just stare.
Look. Yeah, don't do that. Please don't do that. And I remember when me and my family would be out walking and whatever, I'd always stay in the back. Really? Because I wanted to just be in the background and not really stand out. Obviously that didn't do anything. No. I'm still out here. You can still see me. So that was such a big thing for me. It was just doing as much as I could to not stand out. When I'd go out, I would wear clothes that didn't grab a lot of attention because especially when I was with my family, obviously when I'm with my friends, you can still, I love dressing up. I love putting on makeup. But when I was with my family, I always dressed down because I didn't want that attention. And I remember like specifically, I didn't want the attention, especially from other Black people when I was with my white family. I don't know if you ever felt that way, but when I was out and Black people would try to figure out like, what's the correlation with this Black girl with this white family? And I would always feel so embarrassed. I would look away, or I wouldn't look. I would get frustrated or start having anxiety. And I just did not want to have any eye contact at all with Black people when I was with my white family, because I felt like there was going to be a lot of judgment or questions and lack of understanding.
I feel like some of it was racism. Obviously, racism also played a part into that, and people just like, why do you have a Black girl in your family? Why would you adopt a Black? No, really, part of it was kind of like that played into it. And racism is something we want to get into later and talk deeper about. But I definitely did play into it. And I remember just going back to low self-esteem, I hated my butt so much.
Oh my God, I wanted it to disappear.
My lips, I just, oh my gosh, girl. And I used to cover up as much as I could as my butt, but it's hard to like.
Stuff sticks out.
It sticks out, and then you're with other girls who don't really look like that. But for the longest time, I really did hate parts of my body, and I really, after I left, and now that I'm an adult, I'm 28 years old, that has changed. Right. I've learned to love every part of my body. But it was difficult. It was difficult navigating around women, other girls that didn't look like you, and people who don't look like you, and you try your best to sound like them.
Oh my gosh, sounding like them? Girl. I'm sorry to interrupt, but
no,
like,
you're good.
I remember I had this one girlfriend. She was like trying to think, the Megan Fox of high school. All the boys just wanted her. Me and her were really tight. We're like best friends. All the boys wanted her. She had long hair going down to her butt without even trying. The girl was like a Victoria's Secret model. She was very, very beautiful, especially back then, because when you're kids, you're into the Disney Barbie doll look. You know what I mean? You get older, you see beauty from different perspective, right? She was like that girl back then. And I remember thinking, I was always trying to imitate how she talked, and not just her, but other white girls too. And I got to a point, I don't know if you ever experienced this, but I was like, in my head, I was like, I'm gonna out-white these white girls. I'm gonna talk more white than these white girls. I'm gonna be prissier. I'm gonna be more prissy and fancy than these white girls. That's literally what I had in my head. Hilarious. I was like, whatever they're gonna do, I'm gonna exaggerate that. And it was all in my head. That was all in my head, but that was rock bottom for me.
I remember you telling me that story the first time, and it was such a funny story. Yeah. It was just things that we used to do to try and fit in as much as possible and be seen as white. Even though we stuck out like a sore thumb, look black, walking around,
black.
No, it definitely did play a role into that as well. But
yeah, I mean. And I went through a phase where, because I didn't feel attractive, when I went to boarding school, I remember my hair was super damaged, my natural hair, because I was straightening it all the time. So if you got African or Black kids, don't straighten their hair every single day. It's not very good for their hair.
Do not perm their hair either. Please,
and don't perm their hair.
Figure out how to do their hair.
Their natural hair.
So many videos
so
out
much
now
content
that lets you take care of it.
Don't perm. Don't perm. But so I remember my self-esteem was so low. I was at the point where I came from Oakland and now I'm going to a boarding school in Utah, and my hair was damaged, and I just made the spontaneous decision to just shave off all of my hair. That was when I think I was like 14 years old. And I felt like a boy. I felt like a boy. I was bald. And the boarding school, we weren't allowed to have makeup. So I just was barefaced. It was just me, natural. And I remember it was a co-ed school, but the boys and the girls were separate. But the boys always found a way to communicate with the girls and sneak looks and all that. And I just remember feeling so unattractive to the point where I was like, wow, maybe my destiny is to become lesbian or something.
So because you shaved your head, you're like, I might as well just be a lesbian.
I might as well be, because the boys clearly they're not attracted to me because I was around white boys. And now I got this shaved head. I look like a boy. And for some reason, some of the girls were, because it's a girls' boarding school area, and so the girls were getting an attraction to me. I don't know. Maybe it's the shaved head. I don't know.
But it's like
I felt like I was destined to be lesbian, and it all stemmed from low self-esteem. Not knowing who I was, not knowing that I was actually very beautiful. It doesn't matter what my hair looked like. It doesn't matter what the texture of my hair was or the length, or even if the boys were looking at me. I just didn't have that type of confidence.
And the funny thing, talking about this, we were beautiful. We were very beautiful. But of course, at our age, it felt like the only way we knew that we were beautiful is if the boys thought we were beautiful. But they were just attracted to the girls who looked like them, which was, again, normal. Yeah. So, and a lot of the girls actually, they would tell me that I'm pretty.
The girls were nice.
The girls were nice. The girls were really
nice.
nice. Oh my gosh, she's so pretty, Emily. And as well, the adults too.
The adults were nice. It was just the boys weren't feeling it.
The boys weren't feeling it. It felt like, well, our self-esteem had to be boosted by them.
Right. I remember around black boys, I felt very insecure when I was younger, because I think this was 2000s with like Chris Brown era, with like rap culture, lighter skin was better. So and being African just was not it. We were being called all these names like African booty scratcher, charcoal, all of these very disgusting names. And it was just really bad. So I felt so unattractive. And I remember I didn't really feel that safe around African, or not African boys, but like black boys and even African boys. But I think part of it is just they're just projecting their insecurities on me, right? Because I still look the same now. Black boys are flocking onto me. White boys, Hispanic. It doesn't matter what the race is. But back then, it was not seen as cool to be African. So I was just bullied a lot in middle school. And I remember there was my Jewish school. My adopted family is Jewish, so I went to Hebrew school. And I remember there was also another adopted, he was adopted, he was black, African-American black. And I remember I had a little crush on him, and I was like, it wasn't even necessarily because of the crush. It was just like, it was just cool to see another black person in a Hebrew class, Jewish setting. And I was fond of him. And I remember he would like be really mean to me and stuff like that. But then we grew up and became adults, and he personally reached out to me on Facebook, and he was like, Howa, I just want to apologize to you about bullying you. You've always been so beautiful, like model.
He just wanted you.
And it was because he was insecure, because the way he saw himself. So he felt like the way that he could be cool with the group or whatever is to bully and be mean to me. He was like, you're very beautiful. You're like a model. You're just gorgeous. You know, and I was like, wow, that just made me feel really good inside. It kind of helped heal your inner child.
And not gonna lie, hearing about all the names that you were being called, African booty scratcher and all that stuff.
You didn't get any of that?
No, I grew up, I mean, it was a white community. So they didn't really, that's one thing I'm grateful for, that I didn't get to experience being around other black people, because colorism is a big thing in the black community. So I didn't really experience in that way. It was more like subtle racism, but that not feeling attractive. And then after leaving, and then I went to the military. So the military is a freaking melting pot. Every race is in there.
Races,
and I didn't know I was beautiful. I still was very insecure. So I was getting different attention from different types of men. And I'm just like, what is this? What? I didn't know. I was very confused. I was like, oh, I'm actually pretty. And then, the other girls were like, you're pretty. And I'm like, wow, I didn't know that. And even then, it took me a while to actually feel like I was pretty.
Right. Did you feel like people were lying to you to be nice?
Yes.
I felt that way too.
Yes, I feel like they were lying to me. You guys are just lying to me.
I felt I did not trust them either.
Oh my gosh. It was so funny because I was, and the biggest shocker of all was that white boys were also coming on to me. Y'all are definitely freaking lying. 11 years living with white boys, and they come to bat for me like that, and all of a sudden y'all
all just want to flock.
And I'm like, y'all are lying to me. But it's definitely just, it was different.
Yeah, that's so funny. So then how did you get to the point where you feel like you could trust people and you believed I'm actually really beautiful? What these people are saying, they're not just saying it, just say it. You know what I mean?
I think part of it was going to therapy. Also doing some of the inner work, and I did actually have to stand in the mirror and actually look at myself. And look around and just saw who I was. So it had to do a little bit of that. And I did also have the boy who reached out to you. I also had a boy who also reached out to me in adulthood, who was kind of mean to me as well, who apologized. He never necessarily never said, oh, I thought you were beautiful. He's just like, I'm sorry for being mean. I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you. That helped heal my inner child, because I was like, I really wanted this boy to like me really bad and to date me.
Is he white?
Yeah, he was white. He was white. I wanted him and I to have a relationship. But we were talking a lot, and he just wasn't having it, and he liked other girls. And but it was like a freaking situationship that was going on between him and I. Yeah.
I think for me, it took a really long time to get to a point where I felt like I was beautiful, because when I was in the boarding school, I was with white kids and they were choosing the white girls and whatnot. And I even went through a phase where I started having eating disorders, and I was almost like anorexic, and I'd be throwing up food and whatnot because I just wanted to fit in so bad. And I remember feeling so good because this one boy who was he was kind of an asshole, to be honest with you, in high school. But he had like a cool bro dude type of energy, but no one really liked him that much. But anyways, people thought he was cool at the same time. And I remember he made a comment where he was like, all the girls in this school are fat except for Howa. And I was like, I don't know why. It's a really mean comment, but I remember feeling good inside because I was like, wow, finally they acknowledged me for something that they put high on a pedestal. You know what I mean? Which is being skinny, being fit. And I remember being in the changing room, and one of the Asian girls came in, and she was like, oh my God, your body's so perfect. And this was after I became anorexic. And I felt so good about it. I was like, wow, I finally am seen for something. I'm not just ignored and whatnot. Not just seen as just the black girl.
Right. You're finally being seen the way you wanted to be seen and to fit in.
Exactly. And I think it took so long for me to get to the point where I felt beautiful. That was when I moved back home to the Bay Area, where it was, again, that melting pot of different races, different cultures. And this was now, at this time, being black and African was coming in. Afro beats was becoming popular, and oh my God, you look like an African queen, black goddess was coming in. You know what I mean?
I'm an African queen. That's all I know.
Girl of my dream. So that was coming in, and I came in and I was like, whoa, what did I do to deserve all this attention? Everywhere I went, that's when people were like, wow, you're so beautiful. Your skin color, you're glowing, and damn, you're beautiful. And I remember even I had friends who were light skin, and they started getting jealous of me because I was getting compliments that I was beautiful because of my skin color. And I was like, wow, this is what it feels like to be on the other side. This is a beautiful feeling. And people wanted to take photos of me just being myself. And so I think naturally that just boosted my ego, my self-esteem. And I started to become more confident because I started to hear that everywhere I went. Wow, you're beautiful. But I didn't trust it at first. I was like, oh, they're just lying to me. They're just trying to be nice. They're just like, they know that I'm probably not cute. I'm that ugly black African friend, but they're just trying to make up for it by lying to me. You know what I mean? That's how I felt.
They weren't lying, babe.
They weren't.
You were gorgeous.
Thanks, baby. So I love the transformation naturally that happened, but we definitely went through it when it comes to self-esteem.
We sure did.
So what do you do now to
with my self-esteem?
Do you think you ever struggle with that as an adult?
I feel like self-esteem is one of those things, no matter how old you get, it's something that you have to continuously work on. And now I just can more focus on the inside stuff more than anything. Earlier I was telling you, I'm just discovering tapping into what it really means to be me as a woman, and tapping into my power. And basically the validation that I need, I'm finally finding it, and where I can tap into that and get it from within.
From yourself.
I know a lot of people say tap into within yourself, and you're like, oh, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Right, yeah.
So I've done a lot of inner work and therapy, healing, meditation, and all that stuff. So I am there. I am, and it makes me so happy. I have no idea. I wake up happy, beaming, and happy for no reason. I walk around just happy. I go to the grocery store happy. And it's because I have done that work to tap in within myself and my power.
That's beautiful. That's the ultimate goal, honestly. I'll say for me, I still sometimes struggle with self-esteem and confidence, right? And body image. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be transparent. I know that I'm beautiful, but I think two things can be true at the same time. Absolutely. Where it's like, I know that no one can look at me and be like, that girl's ugly. No. Most people are going to be like, she's beautiful, she's attractive. But of course, it doesn't matter how many times someone tells you something, you still have a lot to work on internally. You're saying, where I feel like there's just some areas where I feel like, I think it's more so body image. Because as far as skin color, I got so many compliments in my skin, and I'm like, I get it. Like, you know what I mean? I get it. And then body is just like, because the thing is when I came out of boarding school, I diverged myself into the African American community, and their standard of beauty is so different than white people beauty. And then I got into the African community, their standard of beauty is so different. So it's almost like I'm trying to love and accept myself based on the space that I'm in. That's very dangerous. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to get out of that. You see what I'm saying? So I'm working on it. It's something that's there's still some work that needs to be done, but I'm very, very much well aware of it.
Thank you for that honesty, because not a lot of people can be honest about that, and you're not alone. Because I do too struggle with body issues, and like I said, a lot of people, like, self-esteem, working on yourself, it's just like it's never an ending thing. Never. It's just a continuous thing that you have to do for yourself.
So, Fatmata, with that being said, just to wrap up the video, for people who are adoptees or someone who has adopted an African or Black child with a different type of body, look, hair, what are some tips that maybe, or insight that you may have of how they can help their child work on self-esteem? Or if you're an adoptee and you're maybe seeing yourself have a lack of confidence, what are some things that maybe someone can work on to build up that self-esteem?
That's a really good question, and things to me to actually give advice on. I think nowadays it's much more different because there's social media, and Black girls being Black and is seen as like, oh my gosh, there's beauty in that, versus when we were younger, social media wasn't a thing like that. So it's easier now for you as a Black girl. You go online and you see other Black girls, and they're getting praised and they're getting love, and I feel like that will help you also tap into your beauty. And honestly, one of the biggest things in adopting a child, you as a transracial adopter, or white person adopting a Black girl, one of the things that I really wish my family did was move to a more diverse area, so I can see people who look like me
in real life.
Real life. So that also plays into the self-esteem, versus just seeing other people that don't look like you. That's much harder. So I think it definitely would add more. It would help with you loving yourself. And I'm big on affirmations. I'm huge on that. Write down affirmations, even if you don't believe it. Write it down. Put it next to your mirror. If you can, I'm talking to the adoptees now. Put it on the side of your mirror every morning or every day, every single time you use the bathroom. Say those to yourself. Continuously say that, and before you go to bed, and to always just focus on that. And I think that really, really helps. And to know that you are beautiful, and where your circumstances now, living with your family, because at the end of the day, you're young, you can't really just pack up and leave.
Right.
You need somebody to take care of you. Your circumstances are going to change, and it's not going to be forever. And I think working on self-esteem, growing up in a white community or wherever else you're growing, I think that's something we're going to have to touch on a little deeper, because it's more than just a surfacey thing.
Absolutely.
Do you have anything to add to that?
I think you had really great advice, and just to double down on how important it is to expose your child to areas and communities where what they look like is being celebrated. I think that's the most important thing, right? So if you're not living in a diverse community or environment, Utilize online resources where your child can see Black women, African women being applauded and celebrated for how they look. Obviously, it's not all about the look, but when you're young, that's what the focus is on. So show them areas where men are showing love and affection for them as they look naturally, not them all fake and straight hair and all this kind of stuff, but what they look like naturally. I think that's very important. And having that open dialogue of first teaching yourself what maybe beauty standards are in the African and Black culture, right? And being able to have that open conversation with them. If they can come to you and be like, hey, my hair is ugly. If they tell you that, what are you gonna say? So you have to educate yourself. And for adoptees, I would say, as I said, just going online, going to events. Events are really fun. Going to the bar or the club that has more Black people or a few Black people, that's always really nice, because then the more you do it, the more comfortable you get, and your mindset starts to naturally just change. Where you naturally, I don't even want to be white. Being Black is beautiful as hell. We're dope. We're dope. We're beautiful. We're curvy. Our body looks good. So, and it's not like Black versus white. It's just really being able to love and enjoy yourself.
Before we close out, I want to add one funny story. Because I wanted to assimilate so bad. Back in the orphanage, I heard about Michael Jackson bleaching his skin.
Oh, right.
So I'm like, oh, well, I'm gonna fit in. So when I get to the States, I'm going to do what Michael Jackson did. So that now I can be white. How that was like my mindset being 9 years old. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna figure out how to fit in right away. And the funny thing is, when I got to the States, girl, and it was cold, and my skin would get ashy, it would start to get a little white.
You liked that?
I liked it. I didn't want to put lotion on, girl. I know. I didn't want to put lotion on. I'm like, well, I would tell my parents, you want to put some lotion on? No, I don't want to. I'm turning white.
Oh,
it's kind of funny and sad to really think about.
It's funny and sad. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Actually, very sad.
Should I even be telling this story? I feel like I should have kept it in my head.
No, I think it's great that you told the story. And what the heck? I'm gonna call you Michael Jackson from here on out.
I did those funny things, and I'm like, and my parents were like, that's not how it works. And obviously they weren't gonna let me bleach my skin.
Right.
And I'm so glad they didn't, because I'm so in love with my skin.
I know.
I love my skin.
It's beautiful. Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
This is great. And I mean, I want to tell one little story,
Go ahead.
Which is my hair. That was such a big thing. Black community, hair and beauty is just like in all communities, white, Asian, beauty is a big thing. And I remember my hair, because with our texture, it can be really hard to manage if you don't know what you're doing. And I remember my hair was so tough to deal with because I didn't really moisturize and take care of it, and that my dad would be in the kitchen and pulling on my hair. And my dad was doing my hair only because he was strong enough.
Oh my God!
Pull it together and put it in a little ponytail, and after it's in a ponytail, the poof would be like this big. After all that effort, and so I just thought that was really beautiful of time with me and my dad, bonding time with me and him. But I always laugh about it because I'm like, wow, my hair was so hard to manage back then that my dad had to be the one.
That's when the adoptees had to learn. They had to learn black hair.
That's a whole other topic.
A whole other topic. Oh my gosh, we have so much to talk about.
I know.
All right, but anyways, that is the end of this podcast.
Yes.
Thank you so much again for tuning in. We love you guys for being on this, going on this journey with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And I always said, sharing is caring. Tell other people about our podcast. Anyone that you think would like it just for entertainment or get any real impact from it. Share, subscribe with us, and we can't wait to do another video with you guys.
All right. Bye. See you next time.
That was a fun one.
That was fun.